Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to get started now. Before we begin the formal part of the meeting, we're going to take public testimony on items that are not on today's agenda. So when I call you up, please come forward. Each person will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. So the green light will be on for 2 minutes, and then when the yellow light comes on, please wrap up your comments so we don't have to cut you off at the end of that. So the first three people I would like to call to speak are Dana Brown, Michael Saltstein, and Bob Turner. Is Dana here or Michael? Well, we have Bob.
Yes.
Okay. Michael? Okay. Go ahead.
Come on, Michael.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Bob Turner from Mira Mesa, cluster president, but I'm more speaking because we haven't had to have the ability or haven't been able to get a cluster meeting together. It's more speaking for myself and talking to a lot of people, a lot of teachers, principals, parents in the district. And this has nothing, and I'm glad I got to meet Cindy tonight, so she clearly understands, because it's hard for some people to understand this, that it's nothing about her. It's not about the person. It's about the process, and the process that wasn't followed. And you have a lot of disgruntled people. Some people are willing to look past it because they love Cindy. I've heard nothing but positive things about Cindy. I've been in a couple of events with her, even though Mr. Barnett doesn't understand that. I have met her. I'm very satisfied with her. I think she's great. But the process still is flawed. It's a terrible process. You guys preach constantly about stakeholders and community, and you're working together. And then you go make a decision like this in the time frame that you did. And I believe the biggest thing, other than not caring about what we think, is that you've made her start from a place that's not really fair for her, because there's so many disgruntled people out there wondering how this type of decision could be made and how irresponsible it was. So I just wanted to make that point, that this, I think you've probably set a precedence now, right, that you can make any decision you want, and what does it mean by community? I also have some emails from Mr. Barnett that I'd like to make on record that show how irresponsible and irrational to question even this. I'm very disappointed. He puts in one of them hurt. No, I'm not hurt. He can't hurt me. But I am very disappointed in his behavior and the way that he acted in these emails. And I know Mr. Barnett, for some reason, he included Mr. Evans and Miss Martin for whatever reason. And I'm more disappointed, I think, in this than I am the process. So I would like this to be made public or put into the record. And I hope that if he's treating other people, other community members or board members like this, he probably should resign. Thank you.
I'm glad you're putting that in the record, because then the public can see you're raving and attacks on Miss Martin when tonight you said you supported her. So I'm glad. I hope you put all the emails in there.
Oh, there's everyone, Mr.
Good.
Barnett.
I look
you
forward
continue
to
on
it.
with that, Mr.
Okay.
Barnett.
I look forward to
Thank
it,
you.
Mr.
Thank
Turner.
you for your comments, and let's move on to the next speaker.
Walking used to be far easier. All right, in front of you, you will shortly have the PowerPoint of the presentation, if you will. I would ask that perhaps the 3 minutes get waived as opposed to bringing 10 people in for each having 3 minutes.
There's a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker.
Okay. I am the one who's been on TV for the last week complaining about your hire at, or non-hire, at Sarah High School. And in being told that I needed to speak here this evening, I provided to you a fairly comprehensive packet. I've titled it, "We Must Change Our Culture," and under slide 2 you'll see the 3 bullet points. And understand, hopefully, that it's more important to change the culture of reporting than it is to try and pass some more rules. Sarah's high school swim coach has been in the media for the last week. I want you to know, and Admiral, I want you to know, I didn't go looking for that. The look on your face and the look on the new person's face are quite telling on what the job has done. I'd like to ask you to read through that you put a coach on deck that had gun charges, forgery, fugitive, multiple names, multiple dates of birth, identity theft, impossible identity, and felonies. I can't believe that there's any disagreement with the statement that says when it comes to protecting the safety of student athletes, we must err on the side of more, not less. Next slide walks you through how did this happen. As a member of the community and a member of the sporting community, it's kind of hard to explain why a walk-on coach became a head coach, became not a coach, became an employee, then was not an employee, and now I have no clue. All done in the space of about a week. The site reported having made the head coach decision. It was published. I had this blown up, but there was no place to put it. That carefully shows the the Sarah High School website and the name of the gentleman as its head coach. I think it's concerning that there were this many people in your school that were concerned about this individual, and not one of them, I think, went to school site, to any of you, but came to an outsider who's unfortunately gotten this label of he will take on child protection. Your media department, I was extraordinarily disappointed with. To produce things that you then have to retract is not a mark of quality. To produce things that you have to retract and were just plain done in haste are horribly misleading. And I provided you with some of those examples. It's just simply not acceptable, I think, in today's day and age. Your high school coach was... I apologize, I'm using 3 sets of notes here. The reporting pipeline, and I want you to know why I...
Okay, just have to wrap up in 1 sentence.
You don't care.
No, we have a 3-minute rule for public testimony.
You invited me to be here.
I did. Okay, let's continue on, everybody. We still remember the time limits that we have. The next speakers that we have are Judy Bushnell, Katrina Peterson, and Bailing Shaw.
Good evening. My name is Bailing Shaw. My address is on file. I was originally here today on behalf of a group of parents at a school in our district over a personnel matter. However, I now understand that that matter is in the process of being resolved, for which I am grateful to the board, and our parents express their appreciation. However, speaking as the executive vice president of the San Diego Unified Council of PTAs, I would like to underscore that the PTA is concerned with the welfare of every child in our district, not just the children whose parents are aware, parents who are engaged, parents who have the time and the resources to come and speak to the board. So it is my sincere hope that whether in resolving issues of personnel at Sarah High School or at other schools in our school district, that the issue is resolved in a manner that is equitable to all children and that does not spare some children at the expense of others. I would like to provide for you the statement that I would have given along with the legal documents. Thank you so much.
Okay, any of the other speakers that I just called are not here. Okay, Hilda Rodriguez Babic.
My name is Hilda Rodriguez Babic. I'm a teacher at Euclid Elementary. I'm taking this time to ask that the board consider in future construction projects, consider the instruction that goes on in schools. The reason I'm asking you this is because there's a major construction project at my school. It started in September. It has been ongoing, continuous through the day. My classroom is but a mere 12 feet away from the construction site. And when I mean construction site, I mean full-on construction, earth moving, iron fireworks going on in the middle of class. Teaching is impossible. As resourceful as I am, and I'm very resourceful, teaching has been impossible, and therefore learning is impossible. There are 4 classrooms in my situation. I am probably the person who has been elected to ask for any relief. I understand construction needs to go on, but I really do question the scheduling. There are times when we have to sit quietly in our classrooms because nothing can go on. Even the amplification system that we have been given through our I-21 is ineffective. There is a maximum volume, there is a maximum attention span. Today we had our writing exam. We had to ask that construction be delayed for 3 hours while our students completed their writing exam. Excuse me. I know that there's not much that I can do for my situation, but I'm just asking for consideration for future projects so we don't subject any more students to the environment that my students have been subjected to this year. I think it's unfair. I think it's I have to say it's demeaning for our students to be put through that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Dorothy Zirkle, Valentina Hernandez, and Imani Robinson.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Dorothy Zirkle. Good evening, Superintendent Koba and board members. First, I'd like to say thank you, Superintendent Koba, for all that you have done for this district, for our families, for our children, for our staff. You have certainly changed and left your print on this district, so I thank you very much. I'm here representing as the past health director for Price Charities and for Health and Human Services at San Diego State University. Although I know that there's been quite a bit in the news related to the selection of our incoming superintendent, I'd like to applaud your selection. I have had the opportunity to work with Cindy Martin over the last 7 years, and there isn't enough that I can't say about Cindy. I've also had the pleasure of working with all of you on multiple projects as a community member, as a parent, as an organization, and shifting the culture of this district so that it is open to our community, open for resources. There is no woman that I know better than Cindy Martin that does not know the word no. Believe me, in building the health and wellness centers over at Central Elementary School and other schools, not knowing the word no is what we need. So I want to say thank you on behalf of our children, our families, and our future, because a leader that looks and is a visionary, that looks for tomorrow, as Mr. Koba has done, is what we need to do. And although we know the politics of it all, maybe it didn't come about in the way everyone wanted it to come about. However, we need to move forward. We are a district in trouble. Mr. Koba has brought us a long way. We have a long way to go. Ms. Martin is going to take us into the future and take our children and our families along with her and open the school doors so that we get more people, more resources, more staffing, more funding from a variety of different places that people never even thought could come. That is community school. That is where we're headed, and that is where you headed us towards, Mr. Koba. So I thank you, and I thank you, Board, for your decision.
Valentina or Imani? Valentina.
Hello, board members. It's me again. Valentina Hernandez, District English Learner Advisory Committee Chairperson. I am here to let you know that I do support that you selected an excellent person for the position. It was a shock to hear that Mr. Koba was going to be resigning in June. He has done an excellent job in involving parents, involving the advisory councils, and getting us all together and listening to us in the Latino Advisory Committee as well. And my daughter's calling me, but she's going to have to wait. It was a shock to me that was happening, and I didn't see it on the news until the next day. Well, actually, I didn't see when you guys selected Cindy unanimously. That is amazing that the whole board actually decided unanimously on something very important such as that. Because usually a superintendent position, it takes a long time, a long process, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy to meet together with the community, stakeholders, parents, teachers, everybody, to try to get input from everybody. And I know that you have been looking at Cindy's hard work throughout the years and seen the big difference she has made at Central Elementary in working with the Hoover Cluster and helping us in the Hoover Cluster in develop a vision and a mission together, not top down, but together. And I think that vision and mission is what's going to guide us in the future, so that we could all work together for the benefit of our students, because our number one priority are our students. And if parents didn't have children, we wouldn't have children, and you wouldn't have a position. So that's why it's very important that you continue listening to parents, and that you continue making parents accountable also, that if it's not for them sending our students to school, then our students fall behind. And if they fall behind, it's very difficult for a teacher to catch them up, especially now with the large class sizes that keep increasing because of the lack of money. It's out of our control. We only have a certain amount of funds, and we have to make the best we can with the money that we have, so that way we could benefit our students, give the professional development that teachers need, encourage parents to also get involved, attend workshops, and see the importance that every little thing that they could do for their child will make a difference, that any way that they could help them get ahead, that their children will be able to have that better chance in being able to get the skills necessary to graduate from high school. Our goal, all of us, is for our children to get reclassified, to graduate from high school, to have different multiple languages, that they could compete in the global society. So I know people might be upset that the process was not a process that they might have liked, but the decision is an excellent decision, and I applaud all of you for making that hard decision. And I know that you knew that you're going to get some backlash, but it's okay, because we're going to see that the benefits are going to outweigh the negatives. Thank you.
Thank you. And Imani?
Hi, my name is Imani Robinson. I'm a parent at Crown Point. I'm also the school site council chair and the new board member of the District Advisory Council Executive Board as well. And I'm here definitely to endorse Cindy Martin. I mean, I'm excited that you all endorsed Cindy Martin, and I'm behind you 100%. Just as Valentina stated, I was very shocked that you stepped down, and then the next day I was very excited that you all voted for Cindy. So I'm definitely one of the parents that are behind the board's decision, and definitely looking forward to working with Cindy. We worked together on the Tiger team, the Title I funds, as I co-chaired with Amy Redding, and she was definitely an intricate part of our board. And what I love about Cindy is that she puts the children first, and I think that's most important, especially to all parents. So I know that she's definitely going to represent the San Diego Unified School District, and she's definitely going to represent our children and the parents, and I'm very thankful for the board for that, and to Cindy. Thank you so much.
Delia Contreras? Is Delia here? I don't remember if I called her.
Buenas tardes. Yo también voy a hacer hincapié de todo lo que están diciendo los papás.
Good afternoon. I'm going to also support what the parents have been saying. By the way, I'm going to be translating from the district, and she's Delia Contreras.
Okay. También estoy muy contenta que la profesora Martin sea la nueva futura superintendente, y también ya casi todos los que han hablado han dicho lo que piensan de ella, ¿verdad? Que es muy...
So I am also very glad that Mrs. Cindy Martin is going to be the next superintendent, and I also support what the parents have been saying about her.
Y sí, para ella lo primero es el compromiso que tiene con todos los niños. Y eso es muy importante para nosotros, los padres. Y quiero decirles a los que no están todavía muy convencidos que es una maestra muy comprometida para todos, no nada más para la comunidad de donde yo vivo, para todos.
So the important thing is that she is very committed for the children and with the children, and that's very important for the parents. And for some people that are not convinced about this, she's also very committed with the community, and not also with the community where Delia lives, but also for the community at Wholesome, whole district.
Y muchas felicidades, profesora. Espero que todos se convenzan al ver su trabajo futuro. Gracias.
And congratulations. I hope everybody is convinced as soon as you start working. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, David Page.
Good evening, board members and superintendent. My name is David Page. I'm here representing the San Diego United Parents for Education. Very often our organization surveys parents to find out how they feel about things that are in the news, such as disappointment. Curiously, and of course along with what we've heard so far, no one has a negative thing to say about Cindy Martin. We're all very excited about the things that may come from this, and we're all proud of her record as an elementary school principal. But, and here comes the but, no one is happy about this process. If there's going to be a team, you cannot build a team ignoring the parents of 110,000 students in this process. It won't work. You won't have a team. This would not have happened at Cindy's school. And so no matter whether you're devising curriculum, audit and finance committees, instructional leadership teams, for the many years that I've worked in this district, the main problem is you have authority, but you don't recognize best practice for making a team as you go along. And we're laid to waste on the side of the road as you go through with this process. It's not that you cannot have your way, but there's a way to have your way that involves the community to have a dialogue back and forth with the candidate or with you as the board to determine are we comfortable, and maybe we have some questions, but we don't want to be asked after the fact, which this board and others have done for years and years and years, because you have authority over the customers. Again, we're excited and looking forward to this new step, and hopefully Cindy is going to do a better job than this board has, or get you to do a better job of involving your customers. Thank you.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to begin our meeting. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll now begin the March 5th, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education with all board members present. If you would like to speak on an item which is on our very brief agenda, please fill out a slip over here to my right and turn it in to Ms. Ward, who is here to my right. If you have non-agenda public testimony, we can also hear that at the end of the meeting. Okay, at this point, I would like to, first of all, before we start on the agenda, to have a report on closed session actions. But before that, a couple of administrative assignments by Superintendent Kova.
Thank you, President Evans. I have two appointments to the HR staff, to HR Officer, Human Resources Officer Krista Owens, and to Human Resources Officer as well, James Jimenez.
Thank you. And then Mr. Schenke, if you could report on closed session actions today.
Yes, Mr. President. In closed session, the board voted 5-0 to appoint Cynthia Martin as the next superintendent for the San Diego Unified School District. And the board has also instructed me to begin negotiations with her and her attorney for the contract of employment, which will be on an open session item as soon as it's completed.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, a motion to adopt our brief agenda. Moved and seconded. Please vote. Okay, since this is our charter school meeting, we're going to start off with our charter school presentation from the Museum Charter School with Principal Phil Beaumont and students.
Thank you very much, board members, for inviting us tonight, and thanks for the Charter Office staff for inviting us as well. And I'd like to echo the comments for Superintendent Bill Kauba for all the help that you've done for the district over these, particularly through these lean years that we're all so familiar with. So what you're going to see tonight is some gamelan, and we have enjoyed a partnership with the Center for World Music for the past 12 years now, and today we have brought just a handful of our more advanced students. Gamelan typically has about 26 players in it. The word gamel means to strike in Indonesian, and a gamelan is synonymous with an orchestra. So given the spatial limitations that we knew we had today, we just brought some of our hot shots to play for you tonight, along with a couple of our teaching artists. This is Putu and Andrea Hernandez, who do a fantastic job with working with all of the students at the museum school. All of our kids get 2 sessions of music each week, one 30-minute session in gamelan, but then also a 30-minute session each week in tabla, which is a hand drum from India. And we also have a director of our music program who's been with us since we started the gamelan program, Dr. Alex Khalil, who's an ethnomusicologist. And he's been doing a very interesting study up with some neuroscientists up at UCSD. It's a study to identify the benefits of music as it pertains to attention. And the study is so interesting that it's actually garnered the attention of BBC. One of their correspondents, Jane O'Brien, came out to the school just last week to film and interview our staff about the program. And they just posted that on their BBC News magazine, which, you know, goes out to millions and millions of readers, just came out today. So we as educators all know that there is so much power in art, and that it has many benefits for our kids in education. So these researchers are hoping to quantify that for us. But we also know that music is fun, and it should be fun. And that's why these particular students come to not only have classes during their regular school day, but often stay till 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the evening for after-school programming that we have for the gamelan. And a typical gamelan performance can last all night. We have asked them not to do that. So they're just going to play a shorter version of a longer piece, and so I'll hand it over to our musicians. Thank you again for having us, and we'll get the shoes off the stage, too.
Thank you very much. That's really great. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. Again, that's the Museum Charter School, so thank you very much for that. Okay, we will now move on with our agenda. The first item on the agenda is the charter petition to establish the International High School of Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. Mr. Aguirre, could you please set this up? Everybody has their shoes. Make sure that nobody's barefoot out there.
Make sure everybody had their shoes before I started.
Okay.
Well, good evening, Superintendent and members of the Board of Education. This is an action item for in order to establish IHS STEAM, which would open in the fall of 2014 and eventually grow to serve grades 9 through 12. Staff recommends approval with condition of the charter petition for a 5-year term beginning July 1, 2014 and ending June 30, 2019. The conditions identified by staff address areas of the charter petition that need more reasonably comprehensive description of certain elements and/or clarity. Staff proposes a deadline of May 6th for the petitioners to satisfy the conditions. A summary of the conditions are regarding, the first one is regarding education program. Among other items, the petition needs to clarify that a change in LEA, status, or SELPA membership will require material revision to the charter. And the petition needs a more comprehensive description of the charter school's internship program, which is not scheduled to start that first year. Regarding the governance and finances, the petition needs to include more comprehensive description of the charter school's affiliation with Ying Royal, which is an entity identified as providing substantial amounts of funding to start the charter school. Regarding student discipline, the petition needs to clarify who will be authorized to make a recommendation to expel a student and who will be authorized to determine if the recommendation will be adopted, so making sure that there's due process involved. The full list of conditions is included in board docs. And regarding facilities, the petitioners are currently evaluating a number of different sites near Balboa Park, and they have indicated they may submit a Prop 39 request. That is staff's report at this time.
Okay, we have one public speaker on this item, I believe. Let me double check. Yes. Noreen Cabrera.
Superintendent Koba, President Evans, and respected member of the boards. As you can see, I'm not Noreen Cabrera, but she could not make it tonight, so I'm speaking on her behalf. My name is Tony Antone, and I'm an engaged parent representing many engaged parents who are here tonight in support of International High School STEAM. I'm here to thank you in advance for supporting our position and the process. We are, as engaged parents, we know how important it is for our children to be educated, to become globally competent and technologically competitive. And we know that the curriculum that this high school will provide is exactly what our children need to succeed in the future world. We have experience with the educators involved with the process, and we know they have the passion and the experience to create a successful high school. So tonight we ask you that you all support the passing of this petition, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. First of all, is there a motion on this petition? Moved? Is there a second? Okay, moved and seconded. Okay, questions, discussion by board members?
This clearly looks like a great school and great for students, and I think my question involves more of, as the board knows, I went through a very long process of trying to up front develop a process for new charters are approved that the academic side, the financial side, and the parent involvement side are incorporated into the charter approval and petition, knowing that the only, if you will, leverage we have is the term before school is approved. And we indicated if the schools met these requirements, we would support 5 years. If not, maybe as little as 3. And it's possible we need to revisit some of these requirements, because I'm not really, although I think there's a lot of statements of good faith and intent, and clearly the parents who are here tonight intend to get involved, there's a lot of pretty general amorphous language about what parent involvement means. We will intend to do this. They have the ability to participate in that. And if there's a problem, then ultimately they can appeal to the Board of Trustees, which we know that on all charters, but our goal in doing this process was to say we want to make sure these problems before they get to the Board of Trustees truly have parent involvement, hopefully at the board level, the governance level. And so I'm not saying I don't support approval, but I believe it's weak. And maybe we need to revisit our criteria. I'm not sure, once again, and whether we actually want this, a parent is even required to be on the Board of Trustees, one of them even, based on the language of the charter school, or the Board of Directors, I should say. So I think we need to, I believe the language probably reflects the policy, but I think we need to revisit the policy then, because the goal is to ensure that we all start with good faith and optimism, but to make sure that the processes and involvement of the site parents is more prescribed than I think it is here. So I just wanted to raise that issue, and I'm not sure what the board's original motions and intent and discussions of other charter schools I don't think is clear in the policy and in this as we would like it, and as I would like it, and I think I'm based on past board's discussion.
So just so I'm clear, you're speaking specifically about the parent involvement,
parental involvement aspects
of the application, right?
Yeah. And on page 48 of the actual attachment, it talks about parental involvement in government. It's important that parents have input, input with curriculum. It's anticipated all formal methods will be actively promoted to have parents and a parent advisory committee. Concerns, will be, but once again, I'm confident that the promoters and the parents who are involved now all mean well and intend well. I'm just not sure from a policy point of view it's stringent enough to meet what we have discussed for quite some time.
Maybe we could ask Mr. Aguirre to talk about it during the review process, how you address the issues that we talked about.
I think there's, if I'm understanding this correctly, there's really two conversations, maybe, or two items going on. The first one is the charter petition itself, and our recommendation aligned with the policy as was adopted in last summer in June. I think the broader point is about the policy itself, and that's definitely something that we can revisit with the advisory group. There's a mechanism put in place in the policy where if there's any changes or modifications, we can definitely address it with our advisory group in a manner that engages stakeholders. So we can definitely we can do that process if that's kind of the broader question. In terms of this particular petition, it did address a number of areas, as Mr. Board Member Barnett mentioned on page 48 and 49, that are specific to parental involvement in governance and facilitating communication or whatnot. So we can definitely ask our charter advisory group to engage in that policy review.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And also, Mr. Aguirre, just one question here. When I saw at first, several different conditions that were listed here, and one of the things we had said was, we wanted the charter schools to independently complete the documents without excessive help from district staff, because we wanted them to show that they were really prepared to do it. And now there are a lot of different items listed here, but some of the staff have told me that even though there are 7 conditions listed here, that these are relatively minor language items. Because if there were significant things, I would rather deny the petition and have them come back and remediate those. But if they're minor, I would be willing to go ahead and approve with conditions, knowing that it would be not approved if they didn't meet these conditions. But could you comment on that?
Definitely. I think it is accurate to reflect these as more technical in nature. For example, one of the conditions is that the charter school has to agree to submit its site emergency plan on an annual basis. Until they actually know what facility they're going to be in, it's rather difficult for them to submit that, because it includes a number of information pieces that would be specific to a particular facility. So that's really looking forward to ensure that they comply with that particular piece. That's one example. The piece I mentioned about the expulsions was the second piece. Make sure there's a process in place that's clear, and that the district understands what their due process safeguards are going to be. So there's a number of technical areas that are we believe that they can address within the timeline that's offered with the conditions that we develop.
And excuse me, but the timeline to meet these conditions I don't see here.
The timeline would be by it is by May. Deadline is May 6th.
Okay.
It's at the end of
right.
Okay. So on May 6th. So basically, what happens if we approve with conditions? If all of those conditions are not met by May 6th, then the approval is
rescinded.
Negated.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay. Please vote on this item. Okay, that passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Geary. And now, if you could go on.
I move items D3 and D4.
Okay, D3 and D4. There's a motion and a second. Mr. Geary, could you explain very quickly, just for the public, what D3 and D4 are? So.
Sure. D3 is a very technical revision. It basically changes the name of O'Farrell Charter School to become the O'Farrell Charter School, and it places a cap of 1,650 students as identified in board docs. So that's
wait, it's O'Farrell Charter School to the O'Farrell Charter School?
No, currently the name of the school is O'Farrell Community School Center for Advanced Academic Studies Charter School. So they're basically shortening it to the O'Farrell Charter School.
Oh, okay. It's shortening rather than lengthening.
Jonathan, you're not a Buckeye fan, are you?
Okay, that's the name change. And D4?
D4, again, is a technical revision to allow the charter school to offer a 6th grade, the Pacific American Academy.
So they would add on 6th grade, and they're K-5 currently. Okay, that's been moved and seconded. If there are no comments, please vote. Thank you very much, Mr. Geary. Okay, now we go to the Operations and Efficiency Ad Hoc Committee, the Tiger Team update. This item is being continued. Okay. And then item F1, the MOU between Magnolia Education and Research Foundation and the Santa Unified School District.
I'd like to move item F1.
Moved and seconded for F1. Okay.
I just wanted to. This is a great opportunity, but I think I'd like, as the Prop Z process goes ahead and the funding for charters goes ahead, this will be an expansion of the existing site on the Cleveland site, and there may be opportunities with Prop Z to even do more expansion to facilitate more charters, or this charter or other ones on this site, to leverage these dollars, because obviously one of our biggest challenges is siting and co-location, not cohabitation, and so I think this is something we should. It's not going to be resolved by September, but as far as the long-range use of the site, it's something we should consider as something to look at forward. I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you. Please vote on this item. Okay. Ms. Ward, do we have any non-agenda public testimony? Any further? No. Okay, we have two people who did not come up. Judy Bushnell, are you here? Or Katrina Peterson? Okay. That concludes the public testimony part. At this point, we're going to recess, and we will continue the closed session upstairs with staff that we began before this meeting.